Welcome back, Elaine, to the Art of Letting Go Zoom room for another live session. Nice to have you back after a bit of a break. So that's just my YouTube live stream going on. I've done this for a while, so I forgot that little detail. Apologies. And let's have a look at today's quote, which is from Marianne Williamson. That will lead us into a bit of teaching related to it and into today's lesson, which is a review lesson that has actually two lessons plus an overriding thought in it. So there's actually three key ideas in it. All right, so let me share my screen with you. So if you can read that quote for us.
Yeah.
From Marianne Williamson. This is from her book called Return to Love, quoted by Nelson Mandela in his autobiography entitled The Long Walk to Freedom. So he must have read the book, that he was familiar with the ideas that she was talking about, which come from the Course. The book was all about A Course in Miracles and her take on it, which obviously influenced him in his approach to transforming South Africa, which we'll get into. Let's read the quote first.
Yeah.
Is that big enough?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are the child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Yeah, amazing quote, really.
It is.
Possibly my favorite quotes of all time. There's a few.
It is.
One of my favorites.
I mean, I've heard it many times, but each time, yeah, it still has that, goes to the heart.
Because we all wonder this, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? But actually, who are you not to be? If you have this God-given light and talents and abilities and abundance within you, then why not you? And as we take that journey of liberating ourselves from fear, we also inspire others. We liberate others, for example. And Nelson Mandela was a good example of that. Going beyond the darkness, really challenging. And that whole apartheid system was really an ecosystem of control. It was saying to one racial group, well, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you have no capacity, you're stupid, you're not worthy of the same kind of treatment. You're kind of some lower class of human. And he challenged that and said, no, that's not true. We're all born equal. We all have the same source, the same creator. And these principles of forgiveness, I can't tell you what a difference it made to South Africa. I was there, I lived through this. If he'd come out and he was bitter and angry and wanted revenge, the history of the country would be very, very different. But because he came out with this forgiving mindset, saying this is all about forgiveness, it's about reconciliation, we want to make this work, we want to put the past behind us, that set the tone for the rebirth of a nation into something that worked for a while. Unfortunately, his successors didn't have the same mindset. So it's a long time since he was president, going on 30 years now, and that what he brought has largely been forgotten. But nevertheless, it was important. It was hugely important in that time that someone understood that. So one person like Nelson, who stands for forgiveness and reconciliation in the face of the temptation to condemn his apparent persecutors and seek revenge, can profoundly change the course of history. And he did. He changed the course of South Africa's history through his approach at that critical junction, when it could have gone very wrong egoically. His wife Winnie was not in the same mindset. She'd had a really hard time. They'd tortured her and abused her, and she had a lot of anger and hatred for them, and so she became that. She then when the people. I remember one scene. If you ever get a chance to watch the movie based on the book, A Long Walk to Freedom, do, because there's a great juxtaposition of those thought systems. And when he came out and he was freed from prison, he couldn't reconcile with her because she had this idea of, right, it's time for revenge. We're going to get our own back now. And he was like, no, Winnie, this is wrong. We need to learn how to forgive. And she said, the people. I remember one particular conversation in the movie. She said, but Nelson, the people want revenge. And he said, well, the people are wrong, Winnie. That's why they need leadership. You don't just go, the people want that, so give that to them. Leaders say, no, actually, the people don't know what they're doing. The people need to be led in a different way. And so, he divorced her because they couldn't reconcile. They were, one was egoic and one was listening to the Holy Spirit. And, obviously they're completely opposite. It was a great demonstration of those two thought systems. The two characters in the movie showed the differences very clearly. And thank goodness he was the dominant one. He because he'd been in prison and he'd walked. She wanted to influence him, but he didn't allow it. He was too strong in his understanding of truth to allow that. And he knew the consequences, of going the egoic way. It would have been a bloodbath. Could have been an absolute disaster. Civil war, and it wasn't. It was actually a peaceful transition, which was pretty miraculous because of Nelson's understanding of these principles, which he would have gained in his many, many hours of studying and reading while he was in prison. He was essentially lived a monastic life for 27 years. And that is what transformed him from, I think, quite an angry person when he went in, to someone who had all this profound wisdom and had practiced forgiveness for 27 years, which was obviously necessary. Then you say, from a spiritual point of view, well, if that's what it took to teach him the truth of who he was and what, the value of forgiveness, then that was what was necessary, right? If he hadn't had that 27 years in prison, and let's say he'd become president in the 1960s, he wouldn't have had that same mindset. So it was, that was necessary. So it was all perfect in its imperfection, if you understand what that really means.
Yeah. So he awakened in prison,
Yeah, he became, and certainly awakening through his 27 years of imprisonment, because he had lots of time to think, to pray, to meditate. I don't think he was an overly religious person, but he was spiritual. He was philosophical. He was a thinker, and they get, he was allowed to read books. So he would have spent a lot of time reading, studying, thinking, discussing ideas when, he had time. They had obviously meal times and time when he was working with his comrades. They would have discussed these things. And he knew that it would turn. He was preparing himself for the day that he got out of prison and that he would get his chance to then lead the country. I think he was, there would have been that in his mind. I'm preparing for something greater. This is my preparation. And fortunately, he was influenced by the likes of Marianne Williamson, and via her, the Course. We don't know. I don't think he ever read A Course in Miracles, but he was certainly influenced by its principles by reading her book. So, she played her part then by writing her book that influenced, which then, was a hugely beneficial for a country, a whole country. And, so that's how everyone's individual journey is important. If she hadn't done what she felt inspired to do by the Holy Spirit and write the book, then maybe South Africa's history would have played out differently. He may have still done it because maybe it wasn't the only book that he read, but he was clearly influenced by these principles, forgiveness and reconciliation and so on. If you look at Jesus's own story, it's an even more radical example of forgiveness. So look at what they did to him. They crucified him. They murdered him in possibly the most brutal fashion a human being can be killed. It doesn't get much worse than the crucifixion. And yet he was able to forgive them. One of his final sentences that he said was, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," while he's busy dying in his own body fluids. Because what happens when you're on the cross, the fluids start going into your lungs, and you literally can't breathe anymore. And obviously you can't keep propping yourself up. The agony of trying to prop yourself up to get air, and then imagine what that was doing to his hands.
Yeah, don't even want to think about it. It sounds horrific.
Beyond, so what he did was this demonstration of forgiveness in the most extreme circumstances that the ego can come up with. And, that's our lesson, is to learn from that and say, well, we're not going to have to go through anything like that as extreme, because fortunately people don't get crucified anymore. It's not acceptable behavior. But nevertheless, you still have your tests and your lessons. There might still be, someone who's out to get you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you think, and you've got to let that go. We all have this belief that we've been persecuted by someone or something in this world. That's the ego's belief. So the crucifixion was the demonstration that you are not bound by that belief, that you can overcome that belief. As I say here, probably the most powerful example of radical or true forgiveness in history, which is why it's made such an impact. The crucifixion demonstrated, the worst of the ego, but also how to overcome it in those extreme circumstances. And so as an example, it did change the world, as it's an essential part of the legacy that Yeshua left, that also led to the development of the Christian religion, which in turn has had a major influence on billions of people's lives and human society around the world for the last 2,000 years. Largely, Christianity is responsible, the spiritual foundation for the modern world that we know, the Western world, which has these various laws that become secular now. But, Jesus' time it was okay to just kill someone. It was acceptable. You could just murder someone. And you stone someone to death, and there was no sort of comeback on that.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It happened all the time. The Chosen, they showed a scene where the Roman praetor killed a Jew, and it was like, okay, he got censored by the Romans, but he didn't get thrown in prison. And okay, well, now he just got demoted. So the Christian influence is there, and in our just everyday lives. You can't just kill someone. You can't steal. You can't cheat. You can't, get away with these things. There's laws that say that this is not okay. 2,000 years ago, those weren't there.
Mm.
It was okay to stone someone to death, apparently. It was okay to crucify someone and just murder him without a fair trial. So all these things have become part of our lives, and I don't think we fully appreciate the extent to which they have changed society.
Mm.
Now our task is to take them further and say, well, this is a good start. At least we're in a world where you can't just go around killing and murdering people. There are some consequences, and it's not considered acceptable. Now it's taking it to the next level and understanding what he really taught about radical forgiveness and the nature of the dream world and so on. So can you see that these two examples of people who lived so-called great lives, I think there's no question that both of them would be called great men, 2,000 years apart, but there's this integral connection between what's been called greatness, which is really just the power to influence millions of people positively. What else is greatness? But you had an impact on a lot of people in a positive way. And the ability to forgive or let go of grievances and see only the love stemming from the ultimate source of love, or the Father, as Yeshua called his presence on the cross that fateful day. So greatness is not about manifesting so-called big things in the dream of this world, because it's just a dream. To give value to the dream is to enslave our minds to the ego's rule, which is the belief in separation in all its forms, and remain asleep and dreaming. Instead, greatness is really about allowing the source of all life and love to guide us in all our thoughts, words, and actions while we're seemingly living in the dream world. That's what people who live truly great lives did. Nelson Mandela, he could have chosen the ego, but he chose to be guided by the Holy Spirit instead, in his thoughts, his words, and his actions. And he transformed the course of history in a whole country, and affected tens of millions of people's lives. In fact, more, because if South Africa had gone to the dogs and gone to civil war, it would have affected the whole of that region. It's the dominant power in the region. So who knows what would have happened, but it affected hundreds of millions of people's lives. So how do we do this? By systematically letting go of any negative blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So that's guilt, it's fear, anger, hatred, and every thought and emotion that is not loving, as they arise, as we become aware of them. And this process of forgiveness, letting go of our own negativity, liberates our minds from their self-created prison, sets us free to love and be loved again. And it is only this unconditional love manifesting through our words and actions that is the source of true greatness. So if you look at all the truly great men and women of history, there was something deeper that they brought into the world through what they said, through what they did. Think of Nelson Mandela. Who are the people who stand out in the last century? Nelson Mandela, obvious one. Mahatma Gandhi, another one. He brought something else into the world.
Martin Luther as well.
Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr., another one. He brought something spiritual, something deeper, something of real importance and significance through the work that he did in the world. And they all stood for something higher than just, what's in it for me as an ego. They stood for a value system that, was spiritual, that was pointing people towards love and light and truth and freedom. And that's what made their lives great, in that they dedicated their lives and their minds to that cause in very difficult circumstances. They all faced opposition. Mandela went to prison. So did Gandhi for a time. It wasn't easy. Martin Luther King faced all the opposition from the white racist supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan, etc., and eventually was assassinated. So was Gandhi. I mean, it's not an easy path to walk. These were courageous men, but the example lives on in history as this is what your life can be if you choose love over the ego. and you're willing to do that consistently over many years, decades, in the face of the temptation to get angry, to fear, to judge, to condemn, to make a different choice. So, the question is, if they can do it, think of the likes of Mandela, Yeshua, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi. They had, it wasn't all roses, it wasn't easy, but they made the right choice. So surely you can do that in the face of much less extreme temptations. Most of us don't have the same level of challenge as they did. We're not being crucified. We're not going to prison for 27 years. Gandhi went to prison and was beaten. Remember with the British, they did the whole passive resistance. So Gandhi didn't expect other people to do what he wasn't. He led the line. It's like, okay, we're going to walk up to the British and they're going to smash us with their batons. And then we're going to get fixed up. We're going to go to the back of the line. We're going to do it all over again. And he was the one who was taking the knocks. It's like, okay, you got whacked on the head, and then you're going to go get patched up and you go do it again. And this is it's not easy, is it?
No. It's
I love these guys. People are, great men, but like what they had to do, the choices they had to make.
It's beyond suffering.
But to transcend that suffering and demonstrate that there is another way, and that was why they were great, and that's why they inspire us. The theory is simple. It's a lot easier said than done because our egos resist letting go of all these blocks for dear life, because these blocks are their life. That's what we've got to realize. The blocks of fear and anger and hatred and attacking thoughts and condemnation and judgment and blame and all of that. These are the blocks that make up the ego. That's what its existence is, these thoughts and emotions. So that's why Yeshua has given us these daily mind training lessons. He said, okay, I know how difficult this is. I know how entrenched your egos are because, I understand everything and I've been human as well. I've had these kinds of thoughts as well. So you got to practice. You got to train your mind to be really disciplined in what it's thinking and what you allow yourself to think and feel. So as we practice letting go of our negativity, the ego's negativity, as we become aware of it, we will experience more love, more peace, more joy, and the other great gifts that characterize greatness, which such radical of forgiveness or letting go inevitably results. So all of these people overcame these difficulties through forgiveness, through letting go. That was the common denominator. And they did it anyway. Okay, so the ego is tempting me to give up and listen to it and not stand up for the truth. And they let that go. And they let go of the fear. Because there were consequences for standing up for the truth. It wasn't easy. You could die for it. 3 of them died. Yeshua and Martin Luther King and Gandhi were all killed for their beliefs, ultimately. They paid the ultimate price. They gave their life. But if you asked them, they would say, I would do it again because it was the right thing to do. My life, my little life as an ego compared with the truth is nothing. The truth must prevail above all else. And so they are immortalized because they didn't listen to the ego and they chose the truth. So, we immortalize them and we remember them for all time. They will be immortalizing. They were examples of human beings who lived their lives in a true way, guided by true principles rather than the ego. And we can be inspired by them. And obviously the more they did that, the more inspiring it is. That's why Yeshua is the Christ, because he just took it to the extreme. It was like, okay, I'm going to show you the absolute extreme of the ego, and I'm going to show you that you can still make a different choice, even in the most extreme situation to judge and condemn. And that's why we follow his way. If he hadn't done that, Christianity would have been founded on an empty message. Imagine, on the cross, he'd said, I condemn you, unto and all of your ancestors, all of your successors to the seventh generation, you condemned and you're going to punish, and may the punishment of God be upon you. And the message wouldn't have been the same. So that arguably this is the greatest teaching ever taught by one man in one sentence, encapsulated.
Mm-hmm.
Because of when he said it. For Father, forgive them for they don't know what they do, said when everything's okay isn't that powerful. But when you're dying on the cross, and this is one of the last things you say, having what the brutality of what they did to you, flogged you, beat you, nailed you to a cross, given the context of when it was said, that is possibly the greatest saying of all time, the greatest teaching of all time. Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. As a lesson for generations to come. Say, well, if he can do that in those extreme circumstances, what's your excuse? Why are you judging and condemning someone who's cut you off in traffic, or someone who's stolen money from you, or even someone who's killed or murdered, or people do horrible things, but it's not as extreme as that. Nothing's as extreme as that. So why can't you let go then? And that's what a lot of Christians, sincere Christians, I might add, fail to realize. That the message of crucifixion is not that he died for your sins as some kind of punishment that he took upon himself for all of humanity, and so redeemed you through that, some kind of sacrificial lamb in human form. That wasn't the message of crucifixion. But they misinterpreted it. The message was, forgive no matter what the circumstances are. Let go of your own negative thoughts and emotions, no matter how tempted you are to feel them and express them, because they are not true. And you always have that choice, no matter what the circumstances are. So really powerful stuff. And this is how the Course comes into life, through the demonstration of these great men and women. We see it, the principles enacted. And that's what's truly inspiring. It's no longer just in a book. You see it lived out, and you see the effects of it in a human life and on the world. And then, who could fail to be inspired by that? Well, let me try and live my life in the same way. Okay, so to help you do that, there's a bonus session there, how to discover your deepest fear and overcome it. You'll probably hear yourself in that if you're interested in listening to that at some point. One more spiritual practice after this, I'd recommend it. But that leads us nicely into today's lesson, which is about letting go of anything else and claiming our true identity as love and as teachers of love. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Can you read those ideas? And I've got it.
Yeah. God is only love, and therefore so am I. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. Okay. Or alternatively, my safety lies in my defenselessness. I am among the ministers of God.
I am among the teachers of perfect love.
Yeah,
read that. And then
I am among the teachers of perfect love. And alternatively, God is only love, and therefore so am I.
Okay, so let's just unpack that, because actually there's quite a lot in this. God is only a very simple statement, but nevertheless very profound. God is only love, and therefore so am I. What is that really saying? So God, the ultimate source of all life, is only love, is only a perfect loving awareness. But I've just kept it really simple. God is only perfect loving awareness. No, God is only love. That's enough. It's telling us the true nature of God. So really, really important to understand that God is only this loving awareness. And because God is my source, right? If God is is the source of all life, then God must be my source. God is only love. God is my source. Therefore, I must also be love. You see, it misses a step here. God is only love. God is my source. Therefore, so am I only love. Because I must be like my source. I cannot be different from my source. That's a key idea. Ideas do not leave their source. So if my source is love, then I must be love as well. And therefore, so I am love. And there can be no real contradiction of that if you're logical, if you're really honest about it. Only the ego can dispute that. But the ego, as we know, is not logical, and it's a liar. Well, it's logical, but it's logical from a false premise. So it lies to us and says, you're not God, you're not love, you've separated from all of that. And don't forget it. Let's go to this little overview. The send into hell is what we want. So the ego is a liar. It's based on a false premise that we are separate from God, from our source. And then then once that premise is established, the ego is completely logical. All of this follows logically from the false premise. But because the premise is false, therefore the logic of the ego is false, therefore it's never going to work, even though it's logical and consistent with the foundational premise. Which is why you've got to go to the premise of separation, question that, and undo it in your mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Sorry, it was just a doorbell went there. Yeah, yes.
So God is only love. God is my source, so I must also be love, which means I'm only love. I can only think and feel loving thoughts. Love is oneness. Love is unity. So I can't think in separative ways. I can't think that I'm separate from someone and that they're guilty and I'm not. And I can't fear them and I can't attack them. So if this is true, God is only love and therefore so am I, then all of the ego's negativity follows, just falls away. You see that?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and then he so that's kind of the framework. He's saying, okay, so think on that, reflect on that to prepare you for the first review lesson, which is in my defenses, my safety lies, or my safety lies in my defenses. We want to frame that around. So does that make sense? What he's saying in there?
It does, yeah. Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah. So what is my safety lie in my defense systems? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas, Elaine? Why does your safety lie in your defense systems?
Because that's where your true self is. That's where your essence is. Where the Holy Spirit is. It's the opposite to the ego. If you're defending yourself, then you're making it all real, and you've lost it. Then.
Yeah, you can only defend what's false. So if you're defending a false self-concept, that's the ego. There's no safety in the ego because the ego is bound to experience guilt and sin and fear and attack and hatred. And so if you identify with the ego, you're not safe. You're actually very very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Life is very dangerous. You look out on this incredibly threatening world as the victim of this apparently cruel world, living a helpless, enervated little life of limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, and to be death. You look on all that as real. When you defend yourself, then you identify with this character, victim.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I can be hurt, I can be diminished in some way, and so I must defend myself and my best interests. Of course, you're saying, don't do that, because as soon as you don't defend yourself, you don't limit yourself. You're unlimited. a limitless abundance of truth. Okay, so I'm defenseless, I'm innocent, I'm whole, I'm holy, so I don't need to defend anything. Ego is going to tell you you need to defend things, but then that's a liar. Okay, so happy with that one. Then he asks us to sandwich it. He says, God is only love, therefore so am I again. It's like, I look at this as like a triple-decker sandwich. Yeah? You've got the top, that's the layer of bread. You've got another one in there, which just frames it. It frames the ideas for the day really nicely and complements them. So if God is only love and therefore so am I, related to that thought is that my safety then must lie in my defenselessness. If God wasn't love, then my safety would lie in fear and attack. Okay, so just frames it nicely for us, prepares us for the two review lessons. All right, so then read the second review lesson from lesson 154 originally.
Yeah, I am among the ministers of God. Alternatively, I am among the teachers of perfect love, and God is only love, and therefore so am I.
So I'm among the teachers of perfect love, among the ministers of God. That's a bit old-fashioned. A lot of people would have issue with that. I'm not a minister. You know, we think of a minister in the church and all of that. I noticed the David Hoffmeister and his organization, they're now calling themselves ministers. And I'm like, oh, it's a bit too formal for my liking. I understand, okay, you're a minister and you minister to people, but you know, the healer, the minister, but it's got now a religious connotation, hasn't it?
It has.
I'm among the ministers of God. Whereas I'm among the teachers of perfect love takes it out of that. And you realize that actually it's just about teaching love. I'm among the teachers of perfect love. And I can do that with anyone, all the time, anywhere. I can teach this perfect love by demonstrating it, feeling it, and then demonstrating it. So quite a nice combination. You've got the one which is saying my safety lies in my defenselessness, so it's connecting with the source of who you really are, which is defenseless, which is this loving awareness. And then it's saying extend that. I'm among the teachers, so I extend this perfect loving awareness outward to others, and that's my my function here. So I'm among the teachers of perfect love claims our true function in this world, which is to be the love that is missing in this world and teach it, spread it, as almost every great spiritual master has done, to one extent or another. You know, think of Jesus, the life he led.
It's quite amazing that just all these people, over 2,000, I mean, we've got 8 billion people on the planet already. And then if you times that over the 2,000 years, and yet one person is teaching this, well, maybe a bit more than one person, but he to the, you know, the highest degree. It's quite amazing, isn't it? Really, the billions and billions and billions of people that have been here since then. And then
because he was exceptional. You know, he did something that was fairly exceptional and extraordinary and unique in history. And so, you know, he becomes then our teacher and our leader, and our guide. Because you say, well, okay, you know, I'll follow someone like that because he walked the path.
Oh yes, yeah, no, definitely. It's just quite incredible that there's just incredible. There's only a handful of people.
Yeah. Well, there've been many spiritual masters, but this
Yeah.
teachings have really taken hold and spread like, Jesus has did Christianity. It was the perfect time for that to happen. He's just the right place at the right time, in the right location. It was, Middle East, but they could travel into Europe, and so his followers went all over the known world. They went to the Middle East, which was very populated. They went into Europe, and so the teachings spread, and then from Europe, they went worldwide because the Europeans then colonized the world in the from sort of 1500s
Mm.
onwards. So it's all part of there's some kind of plan in all this. There is a divine plan. I believe this, A Course in Miracles, is just the next evolution of that plan.
Hmm.
Okay, so now not about so much the physical anymore because of the internet. It's all happening online. So he gives us a book and he gives us a teaching of helping us understand what he really taught 2,000 years ago, because that has been greatly misunderstood. And now we have the technology that this can spread globally and be understood by anyone who's connected to the internet, and that's half the world now have access to this. Billions of people, and then we all have our individual journeys within that bigger plan. I thought, well, why not make it simpler and easier for people to understand this? So create a program, create tools and resources and a daily program to help them. And so then that becomes my path, my function within the greater plan of at-one-ment. And everyone can find that function themselves. Everyone can contribute to this and be a teacher of perfect love in their own way. Wherever they are, there's the opportunity to learn and teach love. And that might be in a very, very humble setting. Just you're a volunteer in a charity organization or at your local shop, or just in the way you interact with your friends and family. Or it might be something like, okay, I'm going to create a bigger community, and I'm going to write and speak and teach about this, and build a community of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. But we've all just got to find our way to be a teacher of perfect love, because that is our task here. And that's what the world urgently needs, is teachers who demonstrate, as you say, only a handful of people. You can think of the Jesus and the Buddha and Lao Tzu and a few other spiritual masters, in all the billions of people who have been the shining lights. There have been many more spiritual masters and teachers.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of them you haven't heard of.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
the world needs the teachers of perfect love to be the living demonstration of love, so that love now takes on a form that people can relate to, can understand, and can go, yeah, I want some of that. That's I resonate with that, which is exactly what Jesus did. He built it on the foundation of his example. If he hadn't acted in integrity to love, he wouldn't have had disciples, and they wouldn't have followed him after his death, would they? They followed him because of what he inspired them to find and connect with in their own hearts.
Yeah. Because most people just don't even know it's there. They
Yeah.
just think that, yeah. So it's a wonderful gift to realize that there's more to life than the ego.
Yeah. It's everything. If you just think you're an ego, you have no idea. Your life is wasted. It's a pointless, futile life of believing you're something you're not, living in a state that doesn't really exist, making illusions into truth. And you will feel that in your heart. You won't find any true happiness or satisfaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So really good. Any other thoughts or comments or questions on those ideas?
Oh, yeah, no,
Yes, just
just
remind yourself of
good
the
lessons. Yeah, good reminders. Just, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
key ideas. God is only love, and therefore so am I. My safety lies in my defenselessness, and I'm among the teachers of perfect love. So you can remind yourself of all of those ideas at once, or you could pick one and say, okay, in this practice period, I'm just going to.
well, the good one is that God is only love, and therefore so am I. When we get those moments of unworthiness, and as I was this morning, then that's what I need to repeat loud and clear.
Yeah. So these ideas are affirmations of the truth that help you to learn it. The more you say God is only love and therefore so am I, the more you start to believe it. Initially, you say it, well, I'm not totally convinced, but I'll say it anyway. But by the 100th time you said it, the
Fake
conviction
it,
might get
fake it until you make it. Yeah, fake it until you make it, is the old expression.
oh. Yeah,
Yeah.
you might not have perfect love, and therefore so am I. You might not fully believe that, but you're never going to believe it if you don't start.
Mm.
And say, okay, I'm gonna state this, so I'm gonna say it and say it and say it again until I do believe it. Until that starts to become,
Yeah, the default. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that you can connect with that, and that this brings you a lot of comfort. The idea that God is only love, and there's only this loving awareness, which is whole, complete, perfect. There's only peace, love, and joy there. There's nothing you need to do in that awareness. Everything's taken care of. That's a very, very reassuring thing. And then that
And it's
goes
for all of us, not just the chosen. It's for all. Yeah.
to find that awareness and rest in that. Rest in God is one of the lessons.
I mean, that would be a thing if Putin was saying that to himself, wouldn't it?
Well, if our leaders lived in this way, wouldn't have the
Conflict.
situations that we have. If Putin was spiritual, why would he have attacked the Ukraine? He wouldn't have done that.
Well, yes, yeah.
Uh,
But that would be wonderful if our leaders
he
were.
had a change of mind. He would say, "Well, if God is only love, and therefore so am I, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I waging war then? If God is only love, and therefore so am I,
Yeah.
this isn't who I am." There was
Yeah.
one leader actually, and I mentioned him before, called Ashoka in India, about 2 centuries after the Buddha lived. And when he started, he was very egoic and it was all about conquering other nations. So he waged this very destructive war. About 150,000 people died in this war against the Kalingas, and he realized the error of his ways because of all the brutality and the suffering, pain he'd seen in the war. He turned to Buddhism. And Buddhism is obviously all about defenselessness and non-attachment and non-violence. And he changed his ways, and he was called Ashoka the Cruel. But because he changed his mind, at the end of his reign, he was called Ashoka the Great because he'd spread a lot of light and love and joy in his country, and was a very peaceful, prosperous, abundant kingdom that he created. And he sent out Buddhist monks all over the East to various countries to
Well, you
spread
never know.
Vipassana, because that's
That would be. It would be lovely to hear that from, say, somebody like Putin, wouldn't it? To know that he could turn the tables, as it were.
well, it's probably unlikely, because the ego's too big. That's eating massive humble pie. Imagine making an announcement to the world, going on TV and say, "Well, I've been wrong all along. I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. I just didn't know what I was doing, but I've had some kind of awakening, and actually, I have no interest in fighting my brothers anymore. So, we're withdrawing all our troops, and we're going to give compensation to Ukraine for all the loss of life and all the damage."
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive humble pie, massive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't cope with that. Even if a part of him was like, well, actually, this war, I think he thought, well, I'll just smash and grab. It'll be over in 6 months, and I'll conquer the Ukraine. And it's like, well, it's dragged on and on and on, and it's not going away. And now, of course, the West is involved. because they can't allow Russia to beat Ukraine, so they're pouring. It's another Cold War essentially.
There's too many other people involved, yeah.
And he's too proud to say, well, look, I just made a really bad mistake. Sorry, please forgive me. That would be the truly spiritual thing to do. Let's just stop this madness. Just go back. Withdraw all the troops. Let Ukraine carry on with their business. We'll give them some compensation, and forget it.
That would be nice. We wish.
Yeah. Well, it's unlikely to happen because there's very few leaders who think this way. Does Donald Trump think this way?
No.
Clearly not.
Well, I can't see it if he has. He may have, but I certainly can't see it.
He's not spiritual. Very obviously, he's very much in the world, and it's all about worldly values, and we got to protect America's interests. And he's not a wise man. He's not like a Mandela or a Gandhi, and he won't go down in history as a particularly good president for that reason.
Well, he might go down for the worst one.
He may do. Yeah, I mean they've had some clunkers, but I think he might be up there.
Top the record, yeah.
Top the list. Yeah. We'll see, because the ego is clueless, and I think he's out of his depth. I think he doesn't really know what he's doing. And that must be quite a scary situation to be. And I'm now got all this power, and I don't actually know what I'm doing, and I'm really
just one big game.
Kind of all at sea. In the end of his last presidency, they were saying, well, he's losing the plot.
Yeah, he gets back in again.
And then he gets back in again. It's like, hang on, we got him out, and then people want to put him back in there. And he's now obviously 8 years older than he was when he first became president. So, he's not getting any younger, is he? So then you've got, potentially dementia. And, when you get into your late 70s, you're not as sharp as you were when you...
No.
It's not
possible.
No. But yet he's leading the country. I mean, but the whole system is bonkers.
Yeah, no, it's...
If you really look at it, you just go, it's crazy. It's a crazy system.
It is. Yeah.
You can't expect any kind of safety, any kind of security in that. Your true security lies within. You have to find it.
Yeah, but it's obviously he's meant to be. Maybe to wake us all up and just show how ridiculous the whole show.
Yeah, well, all things work for good. So it's a forgiveness lesson. It's meant to show us the ridiculousness of the ego. If ever, these extreme characters are great teachers. Donald Trump is an extreme version of the ego, and you see that and you go, no, that's clearly isn't right. That's that doesn't work. So I'm going to make another choice. That's why he polarizes people. People who want to still believe in the ego will go, oh no, but Donald Trump is really good and he's strong and he's a strong leader. But
that's
people who don't understand the truth,
don't
understand what strength really means,
true
power means. So they vote for him because he's got illusory power, but it's illusory. It's false. It takes people with a bit of discernment to see that, and so obviously polarizes people along the lines of Holy Spirit ego. I'm not saying everyone who's anti-Trump is necessarily enlightened, but generally they see through the facade and they go, that's just wrong. You can't be a chauvinist and a racist and full of arrogance and pride and full of your own self-importance and a cheat and a liar. Apparently his caddies called him Pele at his club in New York, his golf club. You know why they called him Pele?
No.
Because he would kick the ball. If he had a bad lie, you hit the ball into the rough.
Oh yeah.
He would kick the ball into a better lie.
Oh right.
So it's called Pele. Okay, so you're a cheat basically. You're not. That's cheating.
It's almost. It's ridiculous, really, the whole thing, isn't it?
I mean, it's so ridiculous. So you're so bothered about your golf score that you're going to cheat. That's the mindset you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I don't for sure know that that's true, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Those are the rumors.
Yeah.
And given the rest of his behavior, if he's a model of impeccable integrity, otherwise you'd say, okay, well maybe that's false, but he's not. So
Yeah, he's just a
character that you can imagine him doing that.
yeah, it's just an interesting character how he can get away with it with him.
Yeah, and people vote for him. I mean, millions, and not just a few. Like how many people voted for Trump in the presidential election?
Yes, so
that's crazy.
So this is the mindset that's around at the moment, yeah.
So it's showing us he's an epitome of the ego, and there's a great value in that. You can learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
Which is what he's there for. He's not there to be condemned. He's there to be, so you can learn from him and go, okay, I can see the ego in action. I can see that isn't the way. That's false. That's wrong. And so let me make my own choice and choose values that are opposite to that. And that's his value as he's a teacher in another way. He's not teaching love. He's teaching the opposite of love, which is very valuable.
Behind all that blocked ego, there is still his essence, though, isn't it? There's still
underneath the self-concept of Donald Trump and that enormous ego is the true self, is the Christ, just as who would understand and know the truth and know that these ideas are true and resonate with them. But that has been systematically blocked and suppressed and repressed. So he probably has very little access to that knowledge and that wisdom. You would need a major shock, something life-threatening, some crisis to happen to maybe shake him out of that. While he's president of the US, is that likely to happen? Unlikely.
Just don't know.
Too much power. He's on the ego level. He's made it, hasn't he?
Well and truly, he couldn't get richer.
No, he's a billionaire. He's now achieved his political ambitions. He's been president of the most powerful country in the world. He's influencing
done everything.
National politics. He's the man, right? He's had a successful life.
And he's got the a trophy wife, and he's got a young.
Yeah, he's got everything money can buy, and he's now bought himself power. See, when you've got all the money, what is the ego? What do you want? Power.
Then money talks, yeah.
Forged his way into the White House and becoming president of the most powerful country in the world. And is that a successful life? The ego would say, oh, you've been amazingly successful, but does he know who he is?
No.
Have you discovered who you are? Do you really know who you are? And have you acted in a way that's loving and kind and has helped people and really added value to people?
Yeah.
Support as much that he has, but there's a very strong argument that he hasn't consistently. Very selectively. Okay, well, I'll benefit some, but if you're a Mexican or a Hispanic or black or then no, it's not. It doesn't apply to all. So
yeah,
he doesn't really know who he is, even though he's attained the highest heights that the ego can offer.
He certainly has. Yeah, he couldn't get more luxurious life than he's got.
Yeah.
But who would want it?
Yeah, would I want to be president of the US? Not a chance. You got to be kidding me.
And I wouldn't want
Putin and talk about wars in the Ukraine and.
No, I wouldn't know. I just would rather jump off a cliff if someone said I had to swap roles.
Oh, so and I don't think that's an easy thing to carry. He's probably feeling in his dark moments. There's probably times when he's like, I'm not coping. Really. So, and then who do you turn to? Because you've got to be the
big cheese, yeah.
Big cheese. So who do you turn to?
Yeah, no, it's not. I can't imagine it being easy, but he certainly plays a good role of being a big ego.
character. It's a role, isn't it? He's playing Donald Trump as a character in the dream.
Yeah, yes.
Larger than life, and so we can learn from that. You don't have to go and repeat his experiences.
No.
No, say, okay, I see that, but no, that's not who I want to be.
Mm.
There's something something deeper that's and of true value that's calling me and inspiring me. And I don't need to be famous. I don't need people to know about me. I just want to connect
Exactly.
with the source and be this loving awareness, understand it, truly and deeply and authentically. And maybe if I'm called to teach, then I teach it in my way, in however I can.
Mm.
But you don't have to go and do what Donald Trump's done and make a fortune and then become president. And well, why would you want to do that?
No, it's
okay. So and just on a while we're on that subject, just as an aside or related, Marianne Williamson is actually sort of goes full circle to the beginning because she's the author of the quote. She's put herself up for
presidency. Yes, she has done for the last.
She hasn't succeeded. She probably won't succeed because she doesn't have enough political backing, and I think people think she's a bit weird. But I think her motivation is different.
It would be wonderful if she got in. Yeah, no, it was about 3 or 4 years ago. I was getting emails saying that, and I thought, oh, that would be wonderful. How wonderful!
She tried again in the last presidential election, but she doesn't have enough support in the.
Not and you need plenty of money as well. It sounds like because you needed donations.
Yeah, you need money, and then you go to convince people, and people don't understand. Some of her writings around the course, people are like, "This is weird stuff."
I know it's a shame because I just thought, God, that would be absolutely wonderful if we had her in.
Well, who knows? Would she be able to change the system?
Who knows?
I wouldn't envy her if she did get it because it's not an
It'd
easy.
Be tough. Be very tough.
Easy role. Lots of tests and challenges, but obviously something inspired her to. I think she probably realized she wasn't going to do it, but she wanted to.
Just something inspired of it. Yeah, well.
She wanted to make a stand and say, look, there is actually another way here.
No. I mean, I would. Oh no, I was all for it when I saw an email about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But they said, unfortunately, with you not being American, I can't vote.
Yeah. And she didn't become a candidate. She needed to in her own party become a candidate, and so almost you well within the system, and so you're trying to change the system at that level would be challenging, very challenging. So someone like, I think back to history, John F. Kennedy tried.
Yeah,
he was quite an inspired guy actually, and he was trying to make some radical changes in the system, particularly financial system, and they assassinated him.
Yeah.
And that was an inside job. There's no doubt. That was done by people in the government who didn't want it.
But they made it out as if it was some simple person who'd done it.
Of course, because you've got to blame someone. Okay, so there's this very public shooting. Well, someone's got to be blamed. So we've got to have as Lee Harvey Oswald said, I'm a patsy. I wasn't the one who did it. I was just the scapegoat. If you ever saw JFK, the movie with Kevin Costner.
Oh yeah, yes, I can't. Yeah.
It went through all of that. The magic bullet that apparently one bullet from one gun, but hang on, the bullet went this way, and then there's another bullet, and
3 or
4 bullets. So it couldn't have been one guy. Bullets came from different directions
to make sure that they got the target.
Yeah, so it couldn't have just been one guy. There were multiple gunshots. So clearly there was more than one guy on it, but the official version it was all covered over. He's the one who's to blame, and all of those files then get filed away, and I think they will become public domain in about 2050 or something like that. When everyone who was alive is then gone, and no one's implicated.
It will be the same with a lot of these assassinations. They always seem to pin it on somebody that's simple.
Mm. Yeah, and so but this
You
is
never know. You just
this is the
was
world of crucifixion that Yeshua was teaching us to forgive, to say, this world of anger and hatred and attack where people kill each other, and this isn't the true world. This is the world you need to forgive and release yourself to.
You just never really know with all these sort of mystery deaths, is there? I mean, like Princess Diana and
Yeah,
it's all just a mystery.
you can get lost in conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
or you can just see it as, well, it's just another version of the ego's dream.
Yeah.
Illusory, and I'm not even gonna
go down that path. Yeah.
it's just false, all of it. The entire dream is a false construct. In heaven, there aren't separate characters who lead these lives. There aren't people who are more special and important and more famous than others.
Yeah.
There aren't any issues to kill or die for. It's just pure love. Surely that's a lot simpler. This is
It
what
is, yeah, rather than, I know, yeah,
Surely,
because then you can go down the rabbit hole.
look at the insanity of the ego's extremely complicated thought system. Surely you can see that just perfect love would be preferable to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you have to learn that perfect love while you're here, because where else are you going to learn it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just keeping it simple. Yeah, so easy to go down the rabbit hole.
Which is why you need a disciplined spiritual practice. To practice these ideas, you have to remind yourself of it constantly, because the world is telling you that you're not love. God doesn't even exist. If there is a God, God is a God of hatred and anger and punishment and fear, and you're a victim of a cruel external world. That's what the world tells you.
It is, and even you tell yourself that. The default is in you. I mean, what was I saying to myself this morning?
Yeah.
The very thing. Yeah.
So this is the correction of that. God is only love, and therefore so am I. So simple, just a few words in a simple sentence. But if you actually believe this and you live this, it's life changing, world changing.
Well, yes,
God is only love, and therefore so am I. Jesus lived that, and he completely changed the world by living it and demonstrating it to in an extreme situation. So that's what we've been called to do. Be the living examples of this. It's not some theory. It's actually live this out in your daily life. Speak with loving, with a loving intention. Think loving thoughts. Speak loving words. Act in a loving, kind way, and let this presence we call God, perfect loving awareness, let that guide all your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Okay. So, I think we might have actually done the wrong lesson, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, well, I mean, just catching up, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks.
137. It was actually 138, but never mind. Doesn't matter. So, shall we do a meditation on this?
Yeah, it'll have to be a quick one though, because I've got a few little bits and pieces to do.
Yeah. So just 10 minutes?
Yeah, that'll be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a meditation on today's lesson, which is a review lesson, reviewing two previous ideas, and there's a key idea that kind of wraps them very nicely. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight, up your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale, smile. Remind yourself of the simple truth that God is only love and therefore so am I. God is only love, therefore so am I. Breathe that in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. And then remind yourself of the first review idea. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. Or my safety lies in my defenselessness. If you want to turn that around. And breathe that in. What does it mean to be completely defenseless? It means that you're innocent. You're whole, you're complete. You don't need to defend anything or anyone because the truth needs no defense. And so if you're defenseless, then you don't fear. Fear breeds, fosters guilt and sin. Also, fear leads to attack. Fear, guilt, sin, and attack are very dangerous. These are the forces that seem to attack you in this world. Exhale on the truth of this. Letting go of any blocks to this defenseless awareness. Blowing them all out. The breeze of your breath like a dark cloud or black smoke leaving you. Visualize dark cloud or black smoke leaving your mouth, leaving your body, leaving your whole energy system. It's going, gone. Rest here for a few moments in this calm, quiet, peaceful state. In the gap between breaths, you can really get to experience this presence that comes, that arises in the gaps. So breathing in again. Nice deep inhale. Imagine that you're breathing in this loving essence or awareness that is God. Embrace it, breathing into every pore, every cell. Every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. And God is only love, and therefore so am I. Really infuse your body, your mind, your whole energy system. Remind yourself of the second review idea, that I'm among the ministers of God. If you prefer something a bit less formal, the alternative version, I'm among the teachers of perfect love. Breathe in on the truth of that. among the teachers of perfect love. So all my thoughts, my words, my actions must be in accordance with perfect love. To teach perfect love, I must demonstrate perfect love. This is what Ish was asking us to do, be the living demonstrations of this perfect loving awareness equals God. Rest in this for a few moments, breathe it in. As you exhale, have a sense of extending this love outwards. And again, remind yourself that God is only love, and therefore so am I. Exhale the truth of that. Just feel into this for a couple of minutes. Just sink into this loving awareness. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Merge into this awareness. Allow the breath to flow gently in and out through your nostrils. Going deeper and deeper with each breath into this beautiful, calm, peaceful, loving awareness. And just give yourself that pure experience for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Any thoughts come up, just notice them, remind yourself that God is only love and therefore so am I. My safety lies in my defensiveness, so if you're tempted to fear, to attack, these are all defensive thoughts. Just breathe in this loving awareness into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, any areas of tightness where fear rests. Breathe it in and relax, exhale, let it go. Exhale, pull the stomach into the spine, pull the stomach. And just rest again in this loving awareness for another minute to complete the meditation. Nothing to do, nowhere else to go. Just breathe, relax, be still, and surrender into the arms, if you like, of this loving awareness. So gently just coming back now. From this deep connected state into awareness of your body, the breath, senses on the world. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. So 1, breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind. Notice any thoughts that are out of accord with this loving awareness. Remind yourself that God is only love, and therefore so am I. My safety lies in my defenselessness, because God is only love, and therefore so am I. And I'm among the ministers of God or teachers of perfect love. Exhale on the count of 2, just blowing all of this out, any stress, fear, negativity in any form, just releasing it. The breeze of your breath like a dark cloud. Dark clouds filling you. Stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling with your hands and touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, smell in your nose. Notice all of this, but from this very clear, aware state. This loving awareness is there in the background as you come back into the foreground with your sense perceptions. This background awareness is still there, and it's always there. It's one of the early lessons of the course is God goes with me wherever I go. Because this awareness is with you wherever you go. So the task is just to stay connected to this awareness. And do that by practicing the lesson whenever you need to. Remind yourself God is only love, and therefore so am I. And my safety lies in my defenselessness. If you're tempted to be fearful about anything, you're among the teachers of perfect love, which inspire you hopefully to think and speak and act in loving ways, loving, kind ways. So now on the count of 3, you can open your eyes. So just take a moment to look around. Notice how maybe your awareness has shifted subtly, just a bit more peaceful, calm. This is what love will do. You want to anchor the state in so you can stay in this connected state for the rest of the afternoon, evening, and on into the weekend. Practice the lesson as often as you need to help you do that, and stay in this loving awareness, which is my wish for you. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and of today's session.
Very good. Nice to be back.
Yeah, good. Yeah, nice to have you back, Elaine. I miss these sessions as well, so
very uplifting. Yeah.
And
yeah.
Tomorrow we can do one on Tuesday and Thursday if you like.
Yeah, if that's possible, yes, just let me know.
Yeah,
because I know life happens.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Tuesday evening, Thursday evening.
Yeah,
Possible.
that's great.
I'll try and get Kim to join one of those. Maybe John, I think John's away till Wednesday next week, but maybe he can join.
More the merrier.
Yeah. So yeah, just put that in your diary. I think it was meant
Will
to
do.
have
Yeah,
it
that's great.
Tuesday
Uh,
evening.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining. Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
weekend. Stay in flow. Keep
You
practicing.
too. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. All right. So that is a wrap for today. Thank you to Elaine for joining the session, making it possible. If you enjoyed that session, then why not subscribe to the channel? One thing you can do, I share these videos once or twice a week, so you'll get notified by YouTube when I do that. You can watch the live stream or the recording. Just hit the subscribe button now to do that. You can also go to lifebuild.com. You can see that in my virtual background. Just add on a .com to the Lifebuild, and you can there subscribe to a daily Telegram group where I send out some of the information that I shared with you in the early part of the session, the daily quote, some comments on that, a kind of blog post on that, a daily lesson from A Course in Miracles, along with a meditation, short mini meditations or breath breaks as I call them, to help you practice the lesson frequently and top yourself up with this loving awareness that the course is teaching. So yeah, go to lifebuild.com, check it out, and join us in the Telegram group, hopefully as a subscriber as well. And I hope, by the way, I also send out notifications about these live sessions to that group, so you could join one of the live calls via Zoom. So yeah, a lot of free resources and valuable information, which could be the start of a transformation in your life. So check it out at lifebuild.com. And I hope to see you on the inside of the Telegram group, or maybe of one of these sessions soon. Thanks for watching and listening, and namaste, which means the truth in me acknowledges and honors that same truth in you. So you much love, peace, and joy in that truth of loving awareness. Bye for now.